Hello, everyone. I think we're about ready to start now. Thank you all very much for joining us today for this webinar on building sustainable online food distribution systems. So I'm Alizé. I'm from the Sustainable Food Cities Network, and I'm really pleased to be co-hosting this webinar today with the Open Food Network and with three of our Sustainable Food Cities members. Before I go on to give you a bit of background on sustainable food cities, for those of us who haven't come across us before, I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping. So this webinar is currently being recorded, so you'll have access to the recording as well as all the presentations and any material that comes out of this webinar. So you'll have access to this on the Sustainable Food Cities website. We have a webinar page. We are currently in listen-only mode, so this means that only the presenters are able to speak. This is for obvious logistical reasons, but we very much... Oh, okay, sorry, I'm just saying that... Can everybody... Could you please let me know if you can hear me? Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll just carry on. We're really encouraging you to ask your questions through the chat box that you can see at the bottom left side of your screen. Sorry. We're gonna have a question and answer session at the end, but we'll try and take questions of clarification as we go along, just to try and make things as clear as possible. But any more detailed questions, we'll try and hold it for later. If we don't have time to answer everything today, we'll do this after the webinar. We're going to keep track of questions, and we'll make this public on the same page. If you're having any technical issues, like Trisha currently is, I'm sorry. Do send me a message via the chat box, and I'll try and help you when I can. If it's always worth trying to log out and then back into the webinar. For some reason, this sometimes helps. Okay, so I think that's about it for housekeeping. So, okay. So we're really very pleased today to be showcasing the work of three of our network members. So we're here today with Sarah Rock from Tamar Grow Local, who is part of the Food Plymouth Partnership. We're also with Kay Johnson from the Preston Food Partnership and Hannah Fenton from Good Food Oxford. Thank you very much for agreeing to join us in this webinar today. So these three cities are part of a wider network of places around the UK. So this can be cities, towns, boroughs, even counties. So 47 places, actually 48 as of today, tomorrow. We're just about to announce Aberdeen City as a new member. So that's a bit of news today. So what all of these places have in common is that in order to become a member of the network, each has put together a cross-sector partnership, so made up of all of the key stakeholders that can have an impact on the food system locally. So these are the local authorities, the public health teams, obviously the voluntary sector, businesses, and academic bodies, universities, etc. All of these partnerships have developed their own vision. So what they see their sustainable food city like, what they want to achieve. And from this, they've created food strategies and action plans to really put this vision into practice. So this is what all of these places have in common. What the network hopes to achieve is to help these cities on their journey towards becoming a sustainable food city. So we try to do this by we've set up a framework, a common framework that we hope addresses all of the issues of the food system. So by working closely with pioneering cities, we've found that these 6 issues that you can see on the screen here really illustrate what cities need to be addressing in order to work towards sustainable local food systems. So members of the network can try and address these issues whilst adapting them to their local priorities, of course. There's more detail on the website. I'm just running through this quite quickly, but all of these issues are broken down into various more specific action points that cities can undertake. So we try and help them progress on this by really trying to act as a network. So that is putting places in touch with each other, encouraging peer-to-peer support, providing them with resources, and really just showcasing best practice, etc. So for instance, what you have on the screen here is just a brief example of some of the things we try and promote. But we're also very keen on celebrating success. So we've set up the Sustainable Food Cities Awards, which is really here to recognize the great achievements that cities have made to progress on their local food agenda. So these are the current award winners, and you can download their applications if you're curious to see what it looks like. So the work that Plymouth, Preston and Oxford have been piloting with the Open Food Network to strengthen their local food projects and their distribution systems is really an important step towards developing a strong local sustainable food economy. This tool is the Open Food Network, is a tool that really can be used in many different settings by local food partnerships and other food enterprises, and that can be adapted to various needs. So I'm going to hand over to the experts here. I'm very keen to hear about the experiences from the three cities we have here today. So I'm going to first of all pass over to Nick from the Open Food Network for a brief introduction to the tool. Thanks very much, Nick. I'm just going to put your slide up now.
Good afternoon, everybody. Nick Weir from Stroud, introducing the Open Food Network. I'm feeling slightly nervous. I'm talking to 30 people on a webinar, which I've never done before, so please bear with me. But yes, I'm very pleased to be here. And please, if you do have any questions as we go through, please type them into the text box at the bottom, and we will allow time at the end to answer as many questions as possible. So we are going to be hearing briefly from Oxford, Plymouth and Preston. But before we do that, I wanted to give you a very brief background on the Open Food Network. What we are offering is a system where producers and community-supported agriculture projects can offer themselves online on an interactive map. I'll be able to show you the map later in the webinar. Basically, it takes about 5 or 10 minutes for a producer to set themselves up on the map. They can describe the produce they're producing. They can give a little bit of background on their production methods. They may be growers. They may be farmers. They may be processors of food in all sorts of different guises. And it may not just be food products. We have a country markets group that has joined the Open Food Network, and they are doing crafts and plants as well as food products. And what we're aiming to do is to have a network of as many producers as possible registering on the map. The map is interactive so that people can then click on the map and find out what the producers are producing, and then start to make connections with those producers. And there's two ways those producers can start to connect with the shoppers and the buyers. It may be that they want to sell direct to the individual shoppers. It may be they want to sell to buyers who may be commercial buyers, restaurants, cafes, and so on, or they may be public procurement buyers. But producers can use the Open Food Network to sell direct to these purchasers. However, what we find is that most producers don't want to do that. They're good at growing food. That's what they want to focus on, and they don't necessarily have the time or the inclination to sell direct to the public and to buyers. So what the Open Food Network also allows is for the producers to make connections with food hubs, through procurement operations, through shops and through markets. Those markets may be farmers markets who want to have a click and collect service so that the producers, as well as selling through the traditional market, can offer their products online, so that when the market actually happens, there's a lot of pre-ordered produce and pre-ordered boxes, and the producers put their produce in the pre-ordered boxes. Everything's been paid for online in advance. The producers have the benefits of knowing exactly how much to harvest for those pre-ordered boxes, so there's no waste. And it may be that the market can extend its range of producers, because it may be that very small scale producers who couldn't necessarily afford a market might want to sell online, and then just deliver that produce that's been pre-ordered into the boxes without necessarily having a physical stall. And the other benefit for farmers markets is that all of those producers who come to the farmers market are going back with empty vans or half empty vans, so they can offer a delivery service to extend the geographical reach of the market. So the farmers may offer a pickup point at their farms, or they may do home deliveries on their way back to their farm, and obviously they charge for that, but it does mean that shoppers don't necessarily have to come to the market, but they can have a pickup on the way back to the producers' farms. And also the town that hosts the market could have a pickup point, so that people who can't actually get to the market could pick up from a pub or a cafe or a shop after the market has closed. Independent shops are also using Open Food Network, so maybe community shops, village shops who don't have a lot of shelf space and who struggle to sell perishable produce. They offer that produce online from a range of local producers, and then the shop is a pickup point for the pre-ordered produce. And then food hubs. In Stroud, we have a food hub that has about 85 different producers selling through a hub. The hub happens to be, in our case, a school hall, which we use on a Saturday morning when the school's not using it. The produce is delivered to the hall, sorted into boxes, and then the shoppers pick up from the hall, or we do offer a home delivery service as well. And you'll hear more about procurement when Sarah talks about what's happening down in Plymouth. But what we're aiming to do is to offer one system which is open source. That means it's free of charge. It can be downloaded and used free of charge. But what we've done in the UK is to host an instance of that software, which everybody is sharing, which means that as we develop and improve the software, everybody benefits from all the improvements to the software. We're running it as a platform cooperative, which means that producers are always free of charge. It doesn't cost anything at all to register as a producer. But if anybody happens to open a shop front and start selling direct to the public or to buyers, they're given a 6-month free trial, and at the end of that they're asked to pay set up a direct debit of £1 per month, and they're encouraged to look at how much they're using the software and the benefit they're having from it, and pay on a pay as you feel basis. So a platform cooperative encourages people to pay what they feel the service is worth, and that way we can build up a support network and a development network which will improve the software for everybody in the future. Really happy to answer more questions about that later. There will be time at the end for questions, but if any of you aren't able to stay to the end, please make a note of my contact details, and I'll be really happy to talk to you after the call at any time in the future. And also, any questions we don't manage to answer, we will try to follow up after the webinar. So I'm now going to hand over to Sarah from Tamar Grow Local, who's going to talk about Food Plymouth. So Sarah, if you would like to unmute, I can hand over to you.
Hi, I'm Sarah Rock from Tamar Grow Local. I'm the business manager here. And Tamar Grow Local's been going for about 10 years. Well, exactly 10 years actually. We've just had our anniversary. And we're an umbrella organisation, which is a not-for-profit cooperative connecting lots of food projects within the Tamar Valley and into Plymouth. So these food projects range from growing, marketing, distributing, selling, and also some food poverty work in the city of Plymouth itself as well. Open Food Network for us is the glue or the network for all our projects. So, for example, if our community supported agriculture schemes, orchards or livestock co-ops have got any surplus, They can sell through the Open Food Network and Tamar Valley food hubs. Through the food hubs, our customers can make a donation or buy some suspended vegetables for a family in food poverty in Plymouth, who we distribute vegetables to every fortnight. And so our food hub is the network, one of the central points through which all of our members of Tamar Grow Local can get involved. So we sell our apple juice co-op apple juice through there. In turn, we support orchards by buying apples at above market rates. So Tamar Grow Local sort of depends upon Open Food Network to help with our network of different projects. Tamar Valley Food Hubs has been going for nearly 4 years now. It's developed over time from being very small. We had like a handful of customers to a much bigger operation now. We do one delivery and collection every week on a Friday. So customers order by 9:30 on a Wednesday morning. We send all the orders out to our producers by Wednesday lunchtime. They know what's been ordered so that they can go and bake the cakes or harvest the vegetables, usually on the Friday morning of delivery, and deliver to us here. They often combine, they share delivery to us. We have 2 collection points in the city of Plymouth, as well as doing home delivery. One at Plymouth Community Homes, which is a big housing association in the city, and also at the university. We operate a wholesale and a retail food hub. The wholesale is through login only. And we do those deliveries on the same day as well. Mainly our wholesale food hub is for our apple juice and honey, and we supply various cafes, pubs, restaurants, etc. Producers are always keeping control of their stock levels and their prices. So they get a fair price for their produce, and because it's all to order, they don't have any waste. On our retail food hub, we put a 15% markup on local produce, and for our wholesale hub, it's 10%. Business customers always want a better price from us. The produce that we buy in, some dry goods, we make 30% on top of those. Open Food Network UK, as Nick said, is a platform cooperative, so we pay as you feel. The guideline for that, though, we always set was about 2%. So we have decided to pay roughly that to Open Food Network UK. And this week we've got 42 different producers, 693 product lines, and it's growing every week. Because of the efficiencies of the software, we've actually increased our turnover by 12% since we moved to the new software in June last year. And we reckon we've probably reduced our admin time by about 30%. So the way that OFN works in Plymouth, or it is some of it isn't actually there yet, but it's the vision for it to work in Plymouth to improve its sustainability, is to network various projects that are there at the moment: orchard projects, apple juicing, foraging, to work for food banks, so that similarly to the Tamar Valley Food Hub, donations can be made to the food bank through Open Food Network. They're also looking at a shopfront similar to the Exeter Real Food Store, and we have two other shopfronts already locally on Open Food Network: Soul of Discretion in Plymouth, and somebody who does perennial plants as well. And those links are starting to develop locally as well. Seeing questions have started coming in already, so that's great, and happy to answer some more later on.
Thank you, Sarah. That's great. Just sent a clarifying answer there to Herman. Hope that's clear. One thing I did mean to mention at the beginning, which I forgot, was that we do have a couple of participants on the call who are MA students looking for internships. And when Hannah talks about the experience of Good Food Oxford, that was kicked off largely with the help of an intern who worked at Good Food Oxford for a couple of months and helped to set up several shopfronts. So if there is a city out there interested in an internship, one of them will start at the end of March and run through to mid-June, and another one is more flexible. These are people who are looking for experience of working with Open Food Network, helping to set up OFN in cities. And if you're interested, please do shout. And one of the interns is actually working for a food hub in Lille, so has actually got practical experience of running a food hub as well. So I'm now going to hand over to Kay, who's going to talk about the experience of Preston. So I'll mute myself, and Kay, if you can unmute, I'll hand over to you.
Okay, thanks, Nick. I'm currently sitting here with a dog on my knee, so hopefully she's going to allow me to concentrate on this for the next few minutes. So Preston, we're really at the very start of our Open Food Network journey. We began as a partnership around the end of 2015. We have about 20 members now, so including the LADA, which is a community interest company, the university, Preston City Council, and various community groups. Our main focus really is to try to tackle food poverty and to reduce diet-related ill health. Preston was awarded the title of the unhealthiest high street in 2015, and a recent Salvation Army study showed that 1 in 3 children are currently living below the breadline. And we've also got quite a few pockets of poverty in Preston. So the way that we have tried to address these issues is to train up a team of food champions, and they go out into the community and deliver healthy and sustainable food messages. So that's gone really well. We wanted to expand on that work, and in I think it was about April last year, came across the Open Food Network and Nick, and were inspired by this model. And so we wanted to gauge whether there would be an interest in whether people would buy local produce. So we carried out a survey, and a lot of people said that they would like to buy more local produce, but they found it expensive. They said that they would do if it was more accessible and affordable. So I modified the Food Champion program that I had developed to include setting up Open Food Network hubs. And we spent quite a lot of time selecting community centres in specific areas of deprivation. We didn't feel that the the way to go about it was to set up one central hub in Preston. We thought that it was better to have smaller hubs in the areas where the food was needed, in some of those food deserts where their people don't have access to fresh local produce or very much produce at all. And we also tried to identify people who were already working in those communities to train them up to run the hubs. So these are the people who are working in community centres. They know the people, they know what the needs are. So on the course, we had about 12 people on the course, including a couple who are local producers, which was great. So it was really good to kind of get an understanding from both sides. We also have a food co-op volunteer, which is great because it meant that we're now able to build on the good work that's already happening with the food co-op. We used to have a lot, about 20 years ago, we had a lot of really fantastic food co-ops in Preston that were doing a great job, and unfortunately we only have one now, and I think this will build on that quite nicely. So the training part now is complete. We delivered it over 5 full days. Okay. So what we're doing now? Well, at the moment, I'm trying to identify small-scale producers. We're kind of thinking Lancashire-wide within a 30 radius. Ideally, it will be a 10-mile radius, but a lot of the farming that goes on around Preston is meat and dairy. So we're trying to get a range of products that are as local as possible. We're mainly focusing on fruit and vegetables at the moment, and we're looking for about 4 or 5 more producers. The food champions are currently undertaking a practical assessment, and this involves delivering a cookery session. We wanted to make sure that when people are able to access the produce, that they are taught what to do with it. So the food champions will be able to run the hub, but also deliver cooking classes with the ingredients and show people how to use them. We're also having discussions with the managers about how the hubs will run. I think each hub will be slightly different. It will depend on that community centre and what works there. So we're not sure yet how that's going to be, but we've got some great people on board. We've got a lot of commitments now. So I'm looking forward to exploring that further. We're also having discussions with other local organisations, so such as Fair Share. They have a distribution depot in Preston, which is great. Also UCLan, the university. We want to look at ways that organisations can support the initiative and ways that it can make it more sustainable. So our future plans are that we are very lucky in that we have our evaluation is being carried out by N8. This is a collaboration of 8 universities from the north of England who are trying to tackle food insecurity. We have researchers from Lancaster University who will be able to help us to develop the pilot and look at ways that we can build on it. We want to identify and develop additional training for the food champions to look at really how we can make this address a lot of issues that we have in Preston. We are also discussing at the moment with Lancashire County Council how we might roll out the model across the county and even wider. And we're also having discussions with Preston City Council around how we could scale this up and look at local procurement for larger organisations, such as the university and the hospital, maybe schools. And we've also got we're having discussions around setting up a workers' cooperative that's based on the Mondragon model in Spain, where we will set up the initiative as a business that will be worker owned. So these are all plans that we have for the future, and yeah, I'll be happy to answer any questions. That's a bit of a whistle-stop tour. Thanks.
Thank you, Kay. That's great. And I'm now going to hand over to Hannah, who's going to talk through the experience of Oxford. I know that Hannah has a coordinating role and has been less involved in the day-to-day application of it, but it would be great to hear about the various enterprises that are starting up around Oxford. Thank you, Hannah.
Hello everyone, can I just have a few people let me know if you can hear me?
You're clear, loud and clear, Hannah.
Great. Hi there, so I'm Hannah Fenton, I'm the manager of Good Food Oxford. We're a network of about 130 organisations in Oxford now, and we're all working together to improve the food for Oxford, trying to make it healthier, fairer and more sustainable. We started in early 2014, but we really got going in earnest in April 2015. So we're still fairly new in the Sustainable Food Cities model, but it's been a very useful framework to use. And one of the things that I have done is analyse what the local food system needs and how it can work better together and increase the amount of local food production and sales into the local food market, which is how I came across Open Food Network. So we see ourselves as a backbone organisation. This means that we provide the structure, the strength and the coherence for all of the fantastic food initiatives that are happening around Oxford. So that means I try to do 6 different things. So I'm very busy. And I think that Open Food Network fits into at least 2 of these. One of these is about guiding the vision and strategy for the network. So as GFO, we try to analyse what the Oxford City Region food system needs and show the journey that we can all take on that path. And one of the strategy elements seems to be a better route to market for producers, a better marketplace in general, and just really easy, convenient food sourcing for people. So that it's as simple as going to the supermarket. So we felt that from a strategic point of view, having a platform could be a really, really good next step. We also try to build public will, and we know that only about 1% of food in Oxford is currently sourced locally. So we felt that the ease of use of an online platform for ordering and distribution and doing the back office would really get more and more people behind local food. So when we were looking around for a solution for the local food problem, the most important organisation that I felt to be on board with Open Food Network was Cultivate. So Cultivate is our real shopfront for local, organic, fresh produce in Oxford. This is a wonderful co-op model. has been going for several years now, about 4 years, and they have veg vans which they set up around Oxford, and people can come and shop at the veg van and pick up some really delicious food from some great producers, and you can see them there in the pictures. Cultivate aims to ensure that as much good food as possible is available to people in Oxford and Oxfordshire, support the local sustainable farming and food system, and get people together, interacting, enjoying food, buying food, supporting the local economy. They also aim to supply wholesale and just generally strengthen the local food system. Now, one of the important things about Cultivate is that they had already trialled an online shop and it hadn't had a great deal of success. And when I first started working with them, they were just in the process of putting that shop on ice. And I think that has been the experience of one or two other food hubs that have come onto the Open Food Network. Nick may be able to say more about that. Hang on, I'll go back to that. But I still felt that there was mileage in having a much more simple route to market, and that the Cultivate online platform had perhaps not been successful because it hadn't had the same degree of back-end support and development that something like the Open Food Network might offer. Okay, we have another very new food hub onto Open Food Network. We are like Preston on the early stages of our Open Food Network journey. This is Talking Shop. This is a wonderful community shop and cafe just outside Oxford. They have a weekly produce market. They're starting to open the shop every day. And here's just some of the great activities that they do and some of the food that they sell. On the right there is Robert from Sanford Bakery. And he's one of the producers that has recently joined Open Food Network. And I hear from Nick that he's the first producer on Open Food Network UK to sell through 3 different outlets. So he sells as himself, he sells through Talking Shop, and he sells through Cultivate as well. So that's an exciting development. He's an early adopter. So compared to this fantastic hub of activity happening to the left of the page there in Stroud, here's our little old network in little old Oxford. And as you can see, we're just starting to populate the map with producers and with the red food hubs. The reason why we like Open Food Network, and we think that it's what we need for Oxford to increase local food supply and demand, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 reasons. So I like that it's open source. If you have a feature or function that you want to add to Open Food Network and you can afford to pay a developer to add it, then you can have it. And I think that's really, really important. I like the transparent nature of Open Food Network, the fact that customers can see what percentage of sale of an item goes to the producer and to the hub is important. And the other thing about transparency is that it does allow producers to talk about their standards, for example, fair trade and organic, which is really important. It's user-friendly, it's functional, it's so much better than the alternative that was trialled by Cultivate. I also think the 2% fee is really affordable. And one final thing, so the reason why we've managed to get these food producers and food hubs onto OFN so far is that we had the help of Rosie, our intern, for 12 weeks. Part of that time was helping people onto Open Food Network, and we found that was a really, really valuable function she was able to offer. Like others have said, the food hubs tend to be very computer savvy, although time poor. The producers themselves, it's so valuable to have someone who can take them through the process and get some nice photos up and get their description really up together so that they can make the most of the platform. I think that's it for me, really. Like I say, we're on the early stages of our Open Food Network journey, but we've identified it as a really, really useful tool, and I hope to see it developing. I feel that there's a lot of potential there. I think our community markets could use it to try and draw people into the markets to pick up a bag of pre-packed shopping, for example. So I do think there's lots of opportunities. That's it for me.
Great. Thank you, Hannah. That was fantastic. Just to pick up a couple of points that you raised there. Yes, there have been several people who've tried to set up online shop fronts. Stroudco was one of them. We started our software development about 12 years ago, and we put tens of thousands of pounds into a system that did half a job, and several other food hubs took that software and tried to make it work as well. And it's happened a lot all over the UK. People are sort of cobbling together bits of software to do something towards local food distribution. And that was why the Open Food Network came together, because we thought, this is daft. We're not able to put enough resources into developing good enough software. What we need to do is pool our resources and collectively, collaboratively work together on an open source system that everyone can contribute to. And so we've now got this international piece of software developed originally in Australia, owned by the Open Food Foundation on an open source basis. And it's now being contributed to with budgets internationally. I know we've got a couple of people on the call from France who are doing some great work over there. Germany, Canada, Norway, India, all over the world, this is starting to happen. And Hannah mentioned that if we are developing new features, then we need to pay for them. Sure enough, if you're able to pay for a development of Open Food Network that you particularly like, then that's great. That will go straight to the head of the development queue. But we also have a collaborative system of all our users. We have a community forum where we discuss things that we'd like to see. And if enough people are interested in a particular adaptation or a particular feature, then of course there are still a lot of volunteers out there who are doing fantastic work developing code for us. And we also have some budget, some central budget. We're funded by Esme Fairburn. We have some development budget. So even if you don't have your own funding, please do contribute to the conversation about how this system should develop. And yes, I did recently spend some time with Cultivate in Oxford, and it was really exciting. They've now got 10 local producers who they've got signed up on the Open Food Network, who are selling through the Cultivate van. And one of the producers who was in on that meeting, Robert, set up his own shop front. While we were in the meeting, he actually went through the process and set up his shop front and opened an order cycle, and you can now see his breads. So I'm going to give you a quick demo of the Open Food Network. I'm going to show you a shop front and show you some of the back end. Thank you very much to the three presenters, and please do keep your questions coming in on the chat box, and we will answer your questions in a minute. But I'm just going to show you my screen. Hopefully you'll be able to see the shop front. If you can't see the screen, please do, maybe one of the presenters can. I can't see the chat box now, so if there's any problems, can Elise or somebody let me know. But hopefully now you can see my UK demo hub. You'll be able to see the message at the top of the screen here, which is obviously adaptable. We have an order cycle that is going to close tomorrow morning, and the orders will be ready for this Thursday. And this is a standard shop front. You can see down here the different products, photos of the products. You can see a product description. If the product is produced by a particular producer, you can click on the name of the producer, and that will tell you a bit about the producer. They can put up photos, they can put up descriptions. You can contact the producer direct, so the shoppers can make a direct connection with the producer and ask them about their production methods. The producer could choose to put a phone number up there if they wanted to, and of course the shoppers can follow them on social media as well. This particular producer doesn't have a direct sale to the shoppers. They can only buy through the demo hub. But if that producer was choosing to sell direct, then there will be an option here to buy direct from the producer. And obviously the shoppers can change the quantity of the produce they want to buy, and they can scroll down, and when they get to the actual process of checking out, they can then choose how they want to pay. So the shopfront manager can set up various different shipping methods. So it may be that people want to pick it up from the hub, or they may want to pay for home delivery, and the shopper can put any special instructions in there, and the shopfront can also choose different payment methods. This particular demo hub has only got a pay on collection option, so that people pay when they pick up the produce. It may be that the shopfront wants to set up PayPal or bank transfer or invoicing. We have a link to a Xero accounting system, so we can invoice customers if they choose to do that. So lots of different payment methods, all under the control of the shopfront manager. I'm going to quickly show you some of the back end. So this is the back end of the demo hub we were just looking at, where we can set up different social media links. We can change the description of the shopfront. We can load up images and logos and so on. If everything sold through a particular shopfront is organic or fair trade or biodynamic, then we can set those up as properties of the shopfront, but we can also set up similar properties against each product. So if some of the products are certified organic and some aren't, then we can set up these properties against specific products, and then the shopper can filter them on the shopfront. And I mentioned earlier that the different shopfronts can change the shipping methods, lots of different shipping methods, all of which are adaptable and customizable by the shopfront manager, and similarly with payment methods. Each of the shopfronts can charge an enterprise fee. So this is a markup, basically. So it may be that Cultivate Oxford are buying in produce from Robert Rodriguez. He's making bread. They maybe buy it in at £2 a loaf, but they want to make a markup. And this is where the enterprise fees are added to the cost of production. And as one of my presenters mentioned earlier, the whole thing is transparent. So when somebody's looking at the shopfront, against every product, if I was to go back and go back to the shop, against every product, I can see a little pie chart. So against my kale there, I can get a breakdown that shows that this kale costs £1.20, but there's been a 10% sales fee added to that, which is the markup that the shopfront is making. So these enterprise fees that are added by the shopfront are transparent through to the shopper. There's loads of stuff here about tagging. It may be that you want to allow certain customers to pay by PayPal, but not other customers. It may be that certain customers are wholesale customers and you want them to see certain products that you don't want other customers to see. So there's lots of flexibility in terms of how the shopfront is managed in terms of who can see which payment methods, which products, which shipping methods, and so on. So that's a very quick whistle-stop tour. I think what I'm going to do now is take a few questions. And if you want to see more detail on these screens, we have got another half hour now to quickly show you a few more things. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen so I can see the questions. And just quickly, while we get those questions up, I want to just pick up a couple that I noticed coming through. One was to do with self-sufficiency. Somebody asked a question about are the hubs self-sufficient or grant dependent? I think it's fair to say that all of the hubs, all of the shop fronts currently open on the Open Food Network are self-sufficient. Some of them in the early days were grant dependent. So Stroudco, for example, did have an Awards for All grant and then an Esme Fairbairn grant to get started. We spent most of that on software development, which was a shame because we could have collaborated better. But yes, in the early days when we were starting up, the volumes were very small, and we didn't make enough of a markup to cover the running costs. But now Strauco is self-sufficient. We are paying the Strauco manager £10 an hour to run the food hub. We're paying some of our helpers £5 an hour in Strauco credits to help sort the boxes, and we're paying our delivery drivers £10 an hour in Strauco credits to do our deliveries. But the idea is to build self-sufficient food distribution systems and to build a network where the producers can offer their produce for sale, either direct to the public or through different food hubs. They can distribute for each other and charge distribution fees. What we're trying to do is to make the best possible use of the existing distribution infrastructure by networking it, rather than setting up new infrastructure and new distribution systems. We're trying to build a network that's as rich and as interconnected as possible, so that the distribution can be done by the parties who are already there. I'm going to quickly collect my emails so that I get a list of the questions from Alize. If any of the other presenters want to come back in, then please do chip in.
I can say a bit, Nick, about Tamar Valley Food Hubs and our financial situation.
Thanks, Sarah.
So yeah, we were grant funded to set up, which is the most time consuming bit of your food hub journey by quite a long chalk. And we had some European funding actually through Cordial, and so we set up our food hub, and we currently pay somebody to do the administration and the deliveries. We do have volunteers as well, but far and few between, really. So everybody's paid well for what they do, and we make enough money to reinvest into the software. It's taken a little while. It'll probably take you, well, it took us 12 months to become completely financially self-supporting.
Thank you, Sarah. I wanted to pick up a question from Lorraine. You were asking how Open Food Network supports people to get started. The system is designed to be as intuitive as possible. It takes, as I say, about 5 or 10 minutes for a producer to set up on the Open Food Network and appear on the map. The shopfronts take a little bit longer to set up because you need to set up distribution methods and payment methods. But some of the groups I've worked with can do that in about half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, depending on the number of products they want to set up, the number of producers they want to link with. But it is possible to do the whole thing without support. Having said that, we're offering free of charge a support service which includes an email contact and a support forum. So there's an online support forum where people can type up a question, and one of us will respond to that within a few hours. So everybody can then see the thread of the different support questions that are being asked. And we are also about to set up a weekly hangout, which is a bit like a webinar where once a week, anybody who's using the software can have a conversation. We can do some screen sharing. Different people can share their screens, and we can actually talk people through the setup process. We also offer a service where if people want us to come and visit, then we can do that. And I've recently been working with a group on Anglesey who've been able to pay us to go and work with them, to spend a day there meeting with producers, talking about the whole system, experimenting with different models of food hubs. We've worked with about 20 different food hubs in the UK over the last 12 years, all of whom have been doing slightly different things in different ways. Some are using school halls, some of them using existing warehousing operations, some using shop fronts on high streets, some using farmers markets. And we can talk through those different models. We can facilitate an action plan of how you might want to set up using Open Food Network. But we do need to charge for that. So we ask for £400 for a visit like that. We also host visits. So Tamar Valley Food Hubs are open for visitors. Strauco is open for visitors. And you're very welcome to come and visit us, and we will help you prepare for the visit by helping you think through the questions. We can send you lots of material on the history of our food hubs. That's all available online, which you're very welcome to. But We then host a visit where we take your questions in advance. We then show you the food hub in operation. You can get involved in doing the food sorting if you want to help out. And then we have a sort of sit down question and answer session at the end. And again, we then follow that up with any outstanding questions by email and telephone support afterwards. And again, we charge £400 for those visits. Having said that, Sarah and I and lots of other people involved in OFN are very excited about this, and you can probably persuade us to do quite a bit of chatting on the phone and email support without paying us at all, because we're so inspired and excited by this. So if you haven't got funding for that kind of support, then please do use the support forum, send us emails, give us a call. We will do whatever we can to help you get started. I don't know if any of the other presenters want to chip in, if you do want to unmute. If not, I'll pick up another question. There was one about price comparisons. That's a really good question. The supermarkets work really hard to make food as cheap as possible, and of course they do that by driving the producers down as hard as possible on margins. Open Food Network does have as one of its values, it has a value to try to give the producers as fair a price as possible for their food, which means that particularly for the small scale producer, they do need to charge a reasonable amount for that food, and if the food hub then needs to make a markup on that, it does become quite expensive. But having said that, Strauco has recently done price comparisons, and when we are comparing our veg, which is either biodynamic or organic, with supermarket veg, then we are always cheaper than the supermarket organic range, and in some cases we're cheaper than the conventional veg in supermarkets, because most supermarkets do make a good heavy markup on vegetables, particularly if we're able to offer some of the less cosmetically acceptable vegetables, which most supermarkets grade out. Then obviously we can offer high quality veg at very reasonable prices, and we are supporting food banks through the Food Hub network and the Open Food Network. So I don't know if it might be good, Sarah, to say a bit about food banks and that work that we're doing. But yes, it is possible to provide low cost, affordable, high quality fruit and veg through food hubs in competition with supermarkets. But a lot of the other produce, things like apple juice, we're never going to be able to compete with Lidl's value apple juice that is, imported in huge quantities from Eastern Europe, when we are producing, artisan quality apple juice locally here in Stroud. Any from anyone else on that?
Yeah, I can. We do price comparisons quite a lot, and one of the things that we find is, yes, Nick, if you compare like with the supermarkets, exactly the same product, then very often we're cheaper. We actually sell a local butter, which we sell cheaper than the Tesco's up the road. We sell some local biscuits, which are cheaper than the local co-op. But I think the point here is to make that a lot of people in food poverty wouldn't even consider being able to afford those products in the first place, which is where our work that we do in partnership with Plymouth City Council and Plymouth Community Homes comes into its own, really, where we will provide a bag of vegetables every fortnight, which is the equivalent to 10 adult portions of fruit and vegetables for a family. And again, like in Preston, it's about having cooking sessions to go alongside those vegetables. With the first bag, we provide a potato peeler. We've had people say that it's the first time they've ever peeled a vegetable, which is great because that is actually helping to improve the quality of people's diets throughout the city. Where we get those vegetables from people who have volunteered to grow them That's an even better connection through a horticultural therapy project that we support in Plymouth as well. But where we can't get those vegetables, because we can't grow carrots locally around here, we support a local wholesaler who also has local farms. And we buy in produce from them to support that project and to provide things like carrots. And people can make donations through our food hub to that work. So they can buy a suspended seasonal veg bag or a seasonal veg bag plus a donation towards that work when they're buying their shopping on our food hub. So I think it's a mixed bag with pricing. And one thing that I look at is, well, some things are cheaper, some things are more expensive. On average, I'm probably spending about the same and supporting local producers whilst doing that.
Thank you, Sarah. That's great. I wanted to pick up a couple of questions that have come through about food assembly, and there was also one about allotments, which I'll cover as well. The food assembly is one of the models that we're collaborating with. I mentioned earlier that we're looking at using the Open Food Network with farmers markets, with shops, with food hubs, with procurement. We're also really keen to work with food assemblies that are established already. There's two big differences between the Open Food Network and the food assembly. The first is that the Open Food Network is open source, whereas the food assembly is closed source. Open source means that the software is freely available. The source code is owned by a charity, but it can be adapted and improved by anybody who wants to take that code and use it. We are encouraging people in the UK to use the single instance of the software that we've set up as OFN UK, which is a community interest company, because if we all improve one version of the software, we can all benefit from those improvements. Whereas if people take the software and make changes to it, it becomes less and less compatible with other instances. So the software is owned collectively and collaboratively. I mentioned that OFN UK is a platform co-op. We jointly pay the running costs of the instance of the software that we've set up, and that means that as we pool our resources and as we find development funding and we improve that software, we all benefit from that. And we also have a system where we can collectively decide how the software should change and evolve in the future. Whereas food assembly software is venture capital funded, privately owned, and the development plan for that software will be decided by the people who own the software. So that's one difference. The other big difference is the flexibility. Food assembly is a model that's very successful. It encourages people to set up assemblies and host assemblies, and that model works very well in certain areas, and it does encourage producers to sell their produce through the assembly to the public. But what we're hoping to do, what we are doing with Open Food Network, is to give the producer more flexibility. If the producer wants to sell direct, they can do that. If they want to sell through an assembly, they can do that. If they want to sell through a community shop or a farmer's market, they can do that. And by having lots of flexibility and lots of diversity within the network, that creates, in our opinion, a much richer and more diverse option for people to buy local food and for people to sell local food. I said there were only two differences. Sorry, there are three. The third big one is price. So food assembly needs to recoup its capital investment on the software, and it does charge a 16% cut of anything that's sold, half of which goes to the assembly host who runs the food assemblies, and 8% goes back to food assembly to cover software development. What we've done with Open Food Network is to say, pay what you feel. If you're a startup operation and you haven't got any funding, take the software free of charge. After 6 months, if you're running a shop front, we ask you to pay £1 per month as a token contribution. But as your enterprise grows, and if you then start to make a surplus through using Open Food Network, we do encourage you to pay some of that surplus towards the running costs of the software. So that's it on Food Assembly. We are very keen to collaborate with Food Assembly. We have given them our source code. We're open source, so they can see exactly how our software is written, and we do want to collaborate with them, and we want to try and include them in this network that we're building. If you've got any more questions on Food Assembly, please type them in the boxes there. I will try to cover them for you. But unless anybody else wants to chip in, I thought I'd pick up the question about allotments, which came from Tricia. The allotments, again, we are trying to encourage food production on all levels, including very small scale production right through to big farm businesses selling through Open Food Network. And yes, I personally do work as a part-time grower on an allotment-based CSA here in Stroud. And every now and again, we have a few surpluses, and we sell our surpluses through the Open Food Network on the Stroud Co Food Hub. So yes, it is a way for allotment holders to sell surpluses, and it is, before anyone asks the question, it is legally acceptable to do that. The Allotment Act states that the allotment must be for the primary use of the allotment holder and their family, but surpluses can be sold. So as long as the allotment's not being used as a market garden to sell food as a primary function of the allotment, then it is okay to sell surpluses. And to pick up Trish's point, yes, some allotment holders choose to sell their food through the Open Food Network, and some allotment holders give it away. So if there is surplus produce, the allotment holder can use OFN to give away food on a food bank style. So that is possible. I don't know if anybody wants to chip in. There's a question from Herman about food hubs similar to food co-ops. Yep, go ahead, Elise.
Yeah, no, I was just going to pick up on that question just to see if you had any thoughts around food hubs and food co-ops. Is Tamar Grow Local? I can't remember. Is it a food co-op, or is it set up as a kick? Maybe Sarah can chip it. No, I'm not sure.
Yeah, if Sarah wants to chip in. I mean, my personal take on it is that a co-op is to do with how the organisation is set up, and some food hubs, most of the food hubs I'm aware of, are set up as what there are also food co-ops that buy in wholesale, and all they do is buy bulk produce and relay it. But I'll let Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, Tamar Grow Local's set up as a community interest company, but we are run on cooperative principles. So that's more to do with our governance than anything else. As I understand it, though, Open Food Network the software can work for buying groups and food co-ops. If you want to use it that way, that's perfectly possible as well.
Thank you, Sarah. So yes, the idea of a hub, the way I think of a hub is it has several spokes, and those spokes can be producers who are selling in to the central hub, and then there are spokes also of the shoppers who are taking food out from the hub. Whereas a co-op, quite often, certainly the food co-ops that I'm aware of around Stroud tend to buy in from one producer, which in our case is Essential Whole Foods in Bristol, who sell whole foods, a lot of dry goods and packaged goods, and then we just sort them into piles for each of our members, and then the members pick up from the co-op. And that is a model that is supported by Open Food Network. We are in conversations with Suma and Essential about having their product ranges on the Open Food Network, so that people can buy the shop fronts on the Open Food Network can stock all of those products. Just moving on to another question, Alec is asking about country markets. We're in conversation with Roger Conybeare, who's the chair of Country Markets UK. He's very keen for all of the country markets in the UK to to come online. He's seeing a decline in country markets in terms of footfall to the markets and in terms of number of producers, and he's wanting to reinvigorate the markets, and he's looking for pilot markets to use the Open Food Network. The first of our pilots is the West Midlands Country Markets Association, and they have 4 markets which they are setting up on OFN. The shopfront isn't live yet; they're still in the setup phase. But they will have one central shopfront on the Open Food Network, with each of the markets having a different order cycle. So they have different markets on different days of the week around the West Midlands area. And one of the flexibilities of Open Food Network is that you can have multiple order cycles. An order cycle being the period during which shoppers can place an order for delivery or for pickup at a particular time in a particular place. So there'll be 4 separate order cycles which will overlap with each other, and the shopper will need to choose which of the markets they want to shop at when they first go to the shopfront, and that will then dictate which of the products are available, because not all producers want to sell through all of the markets. So the different order cycles will draw from different producers in the area. And we're hoping once that West Midlands pilot has run for a few months that other country markets will start to use the network. And the beauty is that as more and more producers are on the network and more shopfronts are on the network, there's massive opportunities for cross-trading, for distributing each other's products, cross-selling each other's products. So yes, if you know of any country markets interested in having an online shopfront, please do talk to us. Unless anyone else wants to chip in, I'll pick up on Herman's point. You were told that community gardens could not sell surpluses, but could only give them for donations. I'm really happy to send you an analysis of the Allotment Act. If anybody wants to see that, let me know. And I have a very nice paper that was produced, I think, by Sustain, who analysed the Allotment Act and have produced a definitive report that says it is fine to sell surpluses as long as they are clearly surpluses and it's not the primary function of the community garden or the allotment. Yeah, I think the sound issues are if more than one of us is unmuted at a time, so we will try not to unmute at the same time. Lorraine is asking about the model for the Open Food Network. We are using, I'm guessing you mean the model in terms of the platform cooperative. Platform cooperatives are an emerging sort of model for not-for-profit collaborative community enterprises. Again, I can send you a link about how they work, but the idea is that we give as much of the control of the organisation, of the community interest company, the software, the intellectual property, as much of that as possible goes to the people who are using it, along with their contribution, their decision about how much they contribute to the running costs of it. I hope that answers your question, but I will put up some more details. What I think I can attach at the end of the webinar, I think I can attach a link to more details about how platform cooperatives work. If your question was more about why we chose a community interest company, that is a longer and more complicated answer. But maybe send another message if you want to know more about why we chose a CIC. Natalie's question, is it the same for farmers markets? Not sure what you mean by that. Is what the same for farmers markets? I wonder if any of my other presenters know what that question means. Okay, Robert, I will.
I'm not sure, Nick. Maybe it refers to how you're working with farmers markets, as you were explaining how you're working with country markets as well. I'm not sure what the just how it works. Yeah, okay.
Okay, Lisa, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Farmers markets we're also piloting. So Kent Farmers Market Association I think there's 50 markets in Kent, and we're working with Bob Taylor, who's the chair of Country Markets Farmers Markets in Kent, and he is trialling Open Food Network with Shibham Farmers Market, which is the market he's personally involved with in Kent. and if that's successful, he's planning to roll it out across all the farmers markets in Kent. And the way that will work is that any producer in Kent who's interested in selling through the Open Food Network will register. They will say what products they're offering, and then each of the markets in Kent can then make what we call an enterprise relationship with that producer and arrange to sell, to offer the produce from that producer through their market. So different markets will have a different catchment area. They will choose which producers they want to sell. If there's an issue with competition, if there's already an organic milk producer selling through that market, they may choose not to make an enterprise relationship with another milk producer. But the market manager, the market shopfront owner, will make decisions about which producers they link with. So yes, we are trialing it with several different farmers markets, and in fact there was also a trial farmers market in Oxford. I'm not sure if Hannah's still on the call, but she might want to say a little bit about the East Oxfordshire farmers market, which is also, I think, one of the shop fronts in Oxford. But I'm not sure if Hannah's still with us. I know she's really very...
I think, Nick, Hannah had to pop out for a bit, and she said she would come back, so I'm not sure whether... No, it doesn't seem like she's here right now. She was, yeah. Let's keep that one for later. I think we've got all the questions in.
One just come from Natalie.
Okay.
I meant compared to country, generally how it works. Okay, and I think you're saying that answers your question. So yes, farmers market.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, fine, good. Okay, any other questions? What I might do is show you a bit more. I did a very quick demo of the network more of the.
Yeah, no. I think. Are you happy afterwards to share with us the information on the platform cooperative and the analysis of the Allotment Act? I think we can put them all on the website and share with everyone afterwards. So if that's fine, are you happy to send that to me, Nick?
Yes, I will definitely give you the link
Okay.
to the Allotment Act analysis and also the platform co-op's background. So we'll put them on later.
Okay, great. Yeah. And Lauren is just asking how Open Food Network is linked with sustainable food cities. Well, the main link really is that we would really hope to put OFN in touch with our members, and just to facilitate this relationship with the general food partnerships that are in relationship with all of the food producers and various food enterprises in the local area, just so that there's already a network there of food enterprises. So I think probably it's a good ground to start building a sort of open food network platform through our current members in sustainable food cities. Hopefully that sort of answers your question. Yeah. Okay.
Alize,
Yeah.
I'll take that next question, Alize.
Okay. Yeah. I think Kay was just going to mention something. Kay, do you want to?
Thanks, Alize. Yes, I was just going to expand on what you were saying about how it links in with sustainable food cities. For us in Preston, the work now that we're doing, the pilot that we're running with the Open Food Network, is helping us to address 3 of the key issues that we're working towards. So it's helping us to look at tackling food poverty, to look at improving health, and also it's improving food knowledge. So I think there's quite a lot of strong links there.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Kay. It's really it's a huge contribution to on the food economy side, but also on building just food communities and building strengthening communities around food. I think it's a very strong tool for that. And contributes to the SFC award structure greatly. So yeah, Nick, before I cut you off, you were about to chip in with something. Sorry about that.
Yeah, thanks, Elise. I think we need, yeah, thank you for muting. That's good. Because it sounds like people can't hear me when anybody else is online, so that's good. I wanted to pick up Rafaela's question about, have you examples of people using OFN to build an online food co-op that haven't existed as an offline entity? Yes, it's sometimes easier to start from scratch online, because if you're an offline entity, you've probably got existing systems that you need to carry on running in parallel while you get set up offline. Whereas if you're starting from scratch and you haven't already got an offline system, then you can start small. You can start with just a small number of products. You can start with a small number of customers, a small number of shoppers who are using your co-op, and gradually build it up on a small scale, probably even without setting up an official organization. So you could trade as an unincorporated association and just have a little play with Open Food Network and set up a few products and a few customers. There is an option to make your shopfront only available to people who you give access to. So you can either have a public shopfront that anyone can find, or you can choose which of your customers you allow access to that shopfront. So it is possible to start with an online OFN shopfront on a really small scale, and then gradually, as the business grows and as you start to make a markup on the products and you can start to pay yourself, you can then build the business from there. Really happy to talk you through that process. As I say, it's very simple to set up a shopfront, and yeah, please do contact me if you want more detail. There's a question there for Elise about WeShare. I don't know if it needs an answer.
Yeah. I suggest just that I will get back to Marianne just after the webinar. I've got your email address, so yeah, we'll be in touch.
Okay, so we've got 5 more minutes. Please do keep putting up the questions. I'm going to do another screen share just because there's so much I want to show you, and it's so exciting, and you haven't seen a tiny percentage of it yet. But if anyone needs to chip in with a question, I wonder if Elise can interrupt me because I won't be able to see the questions while I'm doing a screen share.
Yeah, I'll do that, Nick. No worries, thanks.
Okay, so I run through tag rules really quickly earlier, but the idea here is that this particular demo shopfront has got a PayPal tag, which means that the PayPal payment method. So when we set up the payment method here, we tagged that particular payment method as with the PayPal tag, and then when I look at my shoppers, I can then, here are my customers, I can then see, I need to select, I've got lots of shopfronts that I manage, so on my demo hub I've tagged one of my customers as a PayPal customer, and that means that when that particular customer logs in, they will be able to see where's my tagged customer? There we go. So I've tagged myself as a wholesale customer and a PayPal customer, which means that if I log in with this particular email address, we're at Local Food, then the PayPal payment method is available to me, and some of the wholesale products are available to me. But if anybody else logs in, they won't be able to see those options. Oh yeah, I didn't talk to you about order cycles. So I mentioned earlier that an order cycle is a period during which the products are available. So this is my demo order cycle. I can tell the system when I want that order cycle to be open and when I want it to close down to the nearest second. I can charge a fee for the whole of that order cycle, so that any products that I sell through that order cycle attract a particular fee. Or down here, if I'm selling produce from various different producers, I can charge a different fee according to those different producers. So I mentioned that Stroud Co has got a relationship with 85 different producers in the Stroud area. Some of those producers are really easy to manage. They bring their produce to the school on a Saturday morning, and it's all very straightforward. Other producers are a bit more tricky, and they need us to manage their products for them and change their prices and change their stock levels and that sort of thing. Some of our producers need to pick up from the farm, and we charge a higher markup for the more time-consuming producers. So it's a way of just managing the workload of the enterprise. And for each order cycle, I can say when the produce will be available, and I can give a little message that will go to the shoppers when they place an order through that order cycle. So that's how order cycles work. Lots of different reports that we can produce from the software. These reports are used when we're doing the food sort. So for each, when the food is arriving, 85 different producers all delivering into a school hall, I need to be able to know which products go in which boxes. So I have a report for all of my products sorted by producer, and another report for all of the products sorted by customer, so that as the produce goes into the boxes, there's a little tick list beside each customer's box that I can tick off. All of these reports are produced by the Open Food Network. Links to the Zero accounting system, lots of product and inventory reports. There are reports that go automatically to the producers. So when I close my order cycle, I send the software sends an automatic purchase order to each of the producers. That's all managed internally. I've also got an option to manage orders. So if there's a particular order that's come in, I can then look at that order and adapt it. So it might be that a particular shopper has placed an order. I can't look at any of those because they're all they're all live orders. But basically, if I had placed an order with that demo shopfront, and I then the shopper phoned me up and wanted to change the order, then I can edit that order on their behalf.
Nick.
Okay, it's now past. I need to stop.
Yeah, Nick, very quickly before, can you hear me? Just very quickly before we finish this webinar, there is one final question from Rafaela, who's asking whether if somebody sets up an online co-op, is it possible for them to reach out to existing Open Food Network producers to see if they're able to supply this new online co-op? Is that an option?
Yes, it is. So, Elisa, if you could mute, please. I know it's difficult for people to hear. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. That is exactly the way Open Food Network is planned, that the producers set themselves up online, and then the different co-ops can approach those producers and say, this looks interesting, would you like me to sell your products? They then make an enterprise relationship within Open Food Network, and the co-op can then agree with the producer what kind of markup they will make when they sell their products. The producer can also choose to give permission to the shopfront to manage their products on their behalf. So there's very different levels of permission that can be set up. But yes, that is exactly the way it's designed, that the co-ops can approach producers and invite them to sell through their shopfront. So I'm going to hand back to Elise to...
Yeah, thank you very much, Nick. So yeah, as you said, it's 3:30, so I think we're going to bring this webinar to a close. Thank you very much, Hannah, Kay, and Sarah, for your brilliant presentations today, and thank you very much, Nick, as well, for replying to all the questions. It was really informative for me as well. Thanks everyone for joining us. There's Nick's email address on the slide here if you want to get in touch with him. And as I mentioned, I'll be putting up all the presentations as well as the recording on the website in the next few days, and we'll send this out to you as well, so you'll have everything soon. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, and have a good rest of the day. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Elise. Fantastic. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. Thanks.